Hello, everyone. I'm Prem Ramachandran, the Managing Director of Whitewater Public Relations. On behalf of SGI Dubai, I would like to welcome you all to the very first webinar that we have put together for the industry. I would like to quickly introduce you all to the wonderful panelists who have joined us from the US, Europe, and the Middle East. The very first panelist that we have today is Dr. Nicholas Helmut, founder, Flower Reports, and he joins us from the United States. Dr. Nicholas initiated what became Flower Reports while he was a visiting research professor of digital scanning technology in Japan way back in 1996. Dr. Nicholas focuses on UV curing printers and has in-depth knowledge with t-shirt printers, textile printers, latex, and water-based printers. Welcome, Dr. Nicholas.
Nice to be here.
The second panelist that we have today is Mr. Mike Horsten, Senior Director, TechSmart. He is joining us from the Netherlands. Now, he has been in the printing and graphics industry for over 30 years and has been an integral part of the industry since the early days of Photoshop and Illustrator. As the years passed, he worked on the product management, marketing, and business management side of the industry, and with multinationals such as HP, Oracle, Mimaki, and others. His expertise is change management in the industry, and he consults senior management organizations across the globe. He also has a vast knowledge on the sign and graphic and digital textile printing industries. Welcome to the webinar, Mike.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The next panelist we have is Nitin Goswami, President, AT Inks, and he also joins us from the United States. Nitin has been in the industry for 25 plus years. AT Inks is the largest digital inkjet ink manufacturer in the world. During the pre-COVID era, they sold 350,000 liters per month. They sell through channel partners in 50 plus countries around the globe, plus more through OEMs. He manages the company's US operations. And another interesting fact about him is that he has been to all the 7 continents, yes, including Antarctica about 5 years ago on an expedition. Welcome, Nitin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Then we have Ayman Ali, Senior Marketing Manager at Canon Middle East. He heads the wide format and production printing business unit with more than 23 years of printing industry experience in the Middle East and Africa region. We will hear from him some valuable insights with regard to the GCC and other Middle Eastern countries. Welcome to the webinar, Ayman.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Now we have Pablo, Managing Director of Flower Reports DPI Insights, who joins us from Guatemala. And to be honest, it is 7 a.m. right now, and we really appreciate you joining us such early in the day. Thank you so much, Pablo. He has a wealth of knowledge on printers and finishing equipment, and many years of experience in inks, media, CNC routers, and software. He is in charge of writing the reviews, evaluation, and news on inkjet ink, media and substrates, CNC routers, and software. So welcome, Pablo, to the webinar.
Hi, nice to be here.
And the webinar now will be moderated by M. Karthik, who's the Chief Catalyst at SGI Dubai 2021. He calls himself a passion printer with over 35 years of experience in the information and visual communications industry. He's passionate about the printing and signage industry and was heading the role and operations in the GCC region for over 25 years. A professional with extensive corporate experience in strategic management, business development, and marketing strategy, and is currently associated with SGI Dubai as a Chief Catalyst. Over to you, Karthik. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prem. And let me take this opportunity to welcome all our participants, the attendees who are here in the room. Thank you very much for being on time. And I hope you didn't wait too long at the waiting lounge before we started. We're just getting everything in order here. Let me welcome again the panelists, everybody, all experts in their own domain. from different parts of the world. In fact, I was just geographically looking at it. We have actually covered from the Americas up to the Middle East. So it's like almost half the world is here trying to talk and exchange information. In fact, if we have to talk a little about SGI, SGI is Sign and Graphic Imaging, as it began 24 years ago, has evolved into SGI Dubai 2021. And this is, in fact, the largest show in the Middle East and the Africa region for the signage and the printing industry, kind of trying to bring in innovators and entrepreneurs together on a platform where they could take commerce forward. And this has been a long journey for SGI. And in fact, with being the largest show in the region, it also brings a lot of responsibility for the entity to bring in education, keep the market and keep the stakeholders informed about what's going on and help them find ways of moving forward in troubled times. In fact, I remember a famous man once saying that we live in interesting times. I mean, truly we live in interesting times where challenges and difficulties are there because of the COVID environment. But it is also a time for us to be creative. It is a time for creative men to find their ground and move the business forward. It's also a time for us to explore new areas, be positive about what is lying ahead of us. Many of the businesses in this region, business around the globe today are in a kind of a dilemma. Will I be left alone? Will I keep standing like the bridge which is running across the river Choluteca in the Honduras, or is my business built to sustain with sustainability, or is it built for adaptability? Sustainability used to be what we used to be focusing on, and now we have to also look at adaptability, adapting to this new environment. To make us adapt to the new environment, to help us in the process, this is a platform that has been brought forward by SGI Dubai for bringing everybody together to get a better understanding of what we are facing and what is in store for us and how we can move forward. Today, we will start the process with, I will just ask our panelists to give us brief on a quick snapshot on their markets and how exactly that they are mitigating the challenges that have been posed by COVID-19 or the pandemic, as you want to call it. Let me start with Dr. Nicholas, who's from the far right, if I have to call the Americas as the far right. Doctor, could you throw some light, give us a quick snapshot on your thoughts and about your markets there, and also about the challenges that you feel are pushed by this new environment?
Thank you. Yeah, we're very trade show focused. So, the Dubai show was really the only show in this year and will be the first show next year. So we're very focused on getting back into the trade show business. Otherwise, obviously, during this type of a period, there's more time for people to communicate electronically. So our LinkedIn numbers have, just climbed through the roof. I'm over 4,000, I think. Laura reports is well over 5,000 on LinkedIn. And the other thing is, it gives us time to, shall we say, reflect. You can sit, think, and plan. But we're definitely moving ahead. I work my same 10 to 12 hours a day, and that's important. Is to not just to stop and to give up and to freak out. We need to move forward and look at new things and learn new things, and also stabilize our knowledge of our core technology. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. In fact, that is the path to take, and that is what we want to take all our stakeholders in that journey. And let me move to the central part of the world, if I have to say, the European markets. And let me ask Mike your thoughts and your take on the questions I asked you.
Oh, thanks.
Well, first of all, I think that everybody went to crazy panic, which is logical. We didn't know what to expect. Nobody wanted to expect. Businesses didn't know what to expect. A lot of the sign people started making, protective signage, screens, and all kinds of things. But that rush is now over. So we need to look in what is the next step. In Europe, the United Europe, as we call it, we have 27 different countries with 27 different ideas about COVID-19, and also probably about 20 different ways to attack it. In the Netherlands, we had what we called an intelligent lockdown, which basically meant it was the responsibility of the people, and it went very well. Although even today, it's starting to degrade a little bit of this self-consciousness. If we look at the industry, I think the biggest problem in this industry, and it is something we have to work on, all of us, in a very positive manner, is to how to re-engage our customers again. And re-engaging these customers is, I think, the biggest challenge, because yes, it's great to be online, it's great to talk online, but at the end of the day, we want to, shake a hand, we want to make the deal. And this is where I think a big part of the conversation today will be about how can we reunite our own companies? How can we, really move to the next level again? And yeah, it is painful what happened, and it probably will be painful for the next 6 months. But the reality is we have to keep on going. I mean, there's only one way, and that's the way forward.
Thank you very much, Mike. In fact, rightly said, different countries, different game plans, different environments. In fact, I think it's the right time for me to ask Nitin, somebody who's been in so many countries, with channel partners across 52 countries around the globe. Nitin, what is your take on the current situation and the challenges?
Well, like Mike said, Europe has 27 countries and 27 different ideas on how to handle it. We are in of course, besides the 52 channel partners we work with, if we look at only the Americas, we have countries which have very unique ideas on how things have to be done. Our president, of course, is well known for his ideas. Brazil is part of the Americas. Their president is well known for his interesting ideas. So it has been challenging, to say the least. Because half the country thinks we should be doing things a certain way, the other half thinks we should be doing it exactly the opposite way. And you have customers who follow both lines of thought. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge. What we have been doing as a company, we had a lockdown like everybody else did, people working from home. In fact, a lot of our people, sales staff and others, are still working from home. Manufacturing in India is back full 100%. The warehouse staff in the US is working 100% for deliveries and so on. But we are trying to see how we can balance this. What the good thing is, in spite of all this gloom and doom you hear about all the bad numbers in the United States and Brazil, I follow both markets very closely. In spite of all these numbers we have on COVID and the deaths and the infections, the market overall has started to recover. So we are seeing our numbers go up. April was bad. April, I think, was bad around the world. But since then, we have seen incremental improvement. And I would say worldwide, our business is back to maybe about 65% of pre-COVID levels.
Oh, that's very encouraging.
Things are bad. They are getting better. And we are seeing incremental improvement week by week, month by month. And so I would like to tell all the folks that are joining us, if your markets have not recovered yet, take heart, because they will. There is pent-up demand. The demand will come back. Each market will recover differently, depending on government actions, depending on how your government helps you, what kind of subsidies, et cetera, et cetera. But markets that we are working with are recovering, and yours will recover too.
Thank you, Nitin, for that positive note. And if we're talking about challenges coming closer to home, I think it's time for us to know what Ayman feels about the Middle East and the African markets, which are countries which are very close to us. Ayman?
Yeah, thank you very much, Karthik, for arranging this forum, because as we talked earlier, such forums are very, very highly needed now in the Middle East, because everyone now trying to understand what's going on. But I'd like to start with one statement, the world after COVID is different than before. And this sounds cliche, but to be honest, not so many people believe in this. Still, some people are waiting to be back to normal. So I'm telling those people, don't wait, because we are not going back to normal. And this is nothing is bad about this. We are starting new normal with new things. COVID has shocked us with some challenging areas. It brought some positive areas as well. Yes, business was impacted, but in different kind of areas, there is some improvement in some areas as well. And I think the positive news that not all areas, for example, in the printing industry were heavily impacted. Like, for example, during the COVID itself, packaging, label printing was positively impacted. The volume grew even during this time. So not every thing is really dark. Some area had a positive area, but the point that we need to think about how to cope and to adapt, and not to resist or to deny that world is changing. So for example, the plans that we planned in end of 2019 and we started to implement in Jan and Feb, we found by April that it's completely irrelevant, and we had quickly to replan again for rest of 2020 and beyond, how we can go through this time. Printing industry is like any other industry and was impacted heavily. And printing industry is one of the biggest industries. It revolves around $800 billion to $1 trillion globally. So it's not something like small. It's very important, and we have to take care of it. So that's why I'm encouraging all industry experts in the Middle East, all over the world, and thank you for everybody joining this today, to share thoughts, ideas, trends, direction, because this will help a lot shaping the future of this industry in the world and in the Middle East as well. I have some good news, because as I mentioned, not all printing area was impacted. Since May, as Nitin said, we are witnessing growth months over months, very positive growth and very positive mindset as well in the industry. However, Q1, for example, was partially impacted by COVID. I'll not talk about Q2 because most of it we were sitting at home, so it is not a benchmark for anything. But Q1, for example, roll to roll 1.6 meter in UAE showed market growth of units, for example, 6%. In cut sheet toner in Middle East level showed 5% growth compared to 2019. However, March was not, again, a good month. Emerging markets, another good news for us, was not impacted same level as matured markets. So, and expected as well to recover faster than matured markets. So again, I'll close this with a final advice. Please don't deny the change. Don't wait for world to come back to normal. Try to adjust your plan accordingly. Don't waste time and money waiting for things to go back to history. Just take your actions, think about opportunities that COVID brought to us, and try to work with it. So this is my conclusion of the last 5 months that we had, because I found that some people are still denying that this is still happening.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Agility is the word to be followed, and adapting ourselves to the new environment. Let me again swing back to the right to ask Pablo. Pablo, can you give us some insights on what happens in the Americas, and what is your current situation? How exactly you're able to mitigate it?
Thanks. As you say at the beginning, I think that the key word here is adaptability. This has been changed, times of change and evolutions in all the markets, but the ability to adapt to different situations is something that always have characterized our industry. For example, the inkjet manufacturers have modified their change, the word change, to be able to manufacture hand sanitizers. Media manufacturers now produce medical substrates. And some textile printers now, they produce face masks with custom designs. So the keyword here is we have to adapt to this new situation.
Oh, thank you, Pablo. In fact, the keyword you said is adapt, and you said the new opportunities which are there to be explored. we have to be aware and try to get to the new opportunities. And let me ask, in line with that, what are the opportunities you feel that this pandemic has created? Has new opportunities been created? And if so, what are they, and what do you think? Has it increased the demand of, or has it brought the demand down? What exactly is your take on this? Let me ask Mike, because Mike in Europe could give us some insights on digital printing as well as the textile. Mike, can you give us some insight on, are there new opportunities which have been created because of the pandemic? And if so, in what areas?
I think everybody jumped on face masks, and that was the first thing. It was easy. A lot of people had production, and I'm talking about textile production, but mostly paper face masks. But I think that's a very short period of time that people will be able to make money on this, because it is disposable, and you need huge volumes to really make some money. Again, it was a necessity to do something, and I understand, but get back to your business, get back to your printing business, get back to your customers. If we look at the impact in Europe, I think I agree with Ayman that packaging and labeling basically did not suffer, a little bit maybe, but the most suffering has been in the design graphics, where really people doing expositions, you know, the expo walls, painting, trucks, wrapping, car wrapping, and those kind of things. I think those people really, you know, suffered the most in our industry. Offset sheet cut, I think, was also very impacted in Europe. The reason why shorter runs, faster demand, coming, you know, things were 10,000 pieces went back to 2,000 pieces, 2,000 pieces went back to 50 pieces. The result is different equipment is needed. The result is a different workflow is needed, a lot more integration. I think that if you look at where we need to focus in as a company in these days is how do we integrate our customers into our own workflow? Now, this sounds complex, but this is something which we have not done. Even in Europe, very honestly, we have basically wait for the phone call and, you know, oh, this is the order, oh, great, you know, and I'll make it for you. Although we warned everybody in the 90s not to do this, we warned everybody in the first years of the new millennium, we warned them last year, but still people are waiting for the phone call. I think that this is where the big difference after COVID-19, or even, you know, in the finishing of COVID-19, will stay very focused and very relevant, is how to workflow your customer into your own workflow. And how can you maximize that production and that ROI? And I think this is something you cannot always do alone, where you need advice, and where seminars and webinars like these give you that extra boost to really be confident that you can make some money on this. It is difficult time, and it will be difficult time. And not that I want to be pessimistic, because I'm the optimist by himself, and I always want to be. But even if we have a vaccination that everybody's kind of looking at, and again, I agree with Ian on that very much. Iman said, you know, guys, this is the new normal. It will be different. It will not be the same. If we all get vaccinated, we will not all be vaccinated tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock worldwide at the same time. It just doesn't going to happen.
Oh, but actually, I want to comment on this as well,
yeah,
Mike,
sure.
that even after vaccination now, working style, for example,
regardless
of vaccination or no, the work style will change. So a mix of working from home and working from office will be there all the time. The shift to e-commerce will not go back to normal. Probably the opportunity that e-commerce increase will be added to still in-store activities and in-store experience that the customer wants. So really some changes will continue and positively will support the business. So I think vaccination will help to give us safety, but some of the permanent changes will continue, and this is not bad. Nothing bad with this, I think, from my point of view.
No, it's, I completely agree. It's the next revolution. I mean, we went through an industrial revolution, we went through a computer revolution, and most of these were instigated by some kind of global something, or a war or a pandemic, and basically it's the same thing. So I totally agree with you, and I think it's good. Although some things will come back also. An SGI in Dubai, it will come back. We want to talk to people.
Yes.
One of the things we still need to realize, and maybe I'm getting old and gray, and that's why I've been in the industry too long, but I like to talk to people. I like to have a cup of coffee together. I like to exchange ideas and look at the face of my customer and say, oh, this guy, you know, I need to move back, or he's ready to buy. And online, it's not there, in my opinion.
I agree with that. You know, online, I mean, as great as this is and as fun as it is to meet everybody from around the world, unless you are there face to face, having a cup of coffee or a beer in the evening, or you know, whatever your choice may be, it's not the same. We will go back to that. We will go back to that slowly, gradually, but we will surely go back to that. We will be at trade shows and seminars, like Nicholas mentioned. We will be going to visit customers, like Mike said. And a lot of the changes will be permanent, but I think eventually, no matter how much time it takes, I mean, if the vaccine is there tomorrow, then this will happen in a year. If the vaccine is in 2 years, it'll happen in 3. But eventually, we will go back to 70, 80, 90% of what we did before. Although the work from home part will stay for a lot of people. And it may not be a fully work from home situation, it'll be more of a hybrid kind of stuff. But yes, I can tell you this, it is very comfortable to get up, have a cup of coffee and answer my emails from my dining table. I mean, I want that. But eventually I have to go to the office.
Well, right, you know, rightly said, the new normal is something which we have to also take that into account and be cognizant of that existence of something which will be called the new normal, and we have to see how it will evolve. And in this new normal, yeah,
normal changes all the time. There is no normal. You know, what was normal 10 years ago was not normal 15 years ago, was not normal 30 years ago. I mean, it changes. So what's normal 2 years from now? Well, that's normal.
That's right.
Yeah, normal kind of changes all the time. I totally agree.
The difference is pace of change. So what we faced in the last 5 months was very fast-paced change on this normal. So that's why we are not used to that pace. So hopefully,
like they say, change is the only constant.
Yeah.
And can I bring on Nick, Doctor? Would you like to add something to the opportunities that the pandemic situation might have opened up, and what kind of changes do you think it will bring on to the scenario?
Well, first of all, I definitely agree with the face-to-face that Mike was saying, because we can, when we talk to somebody, I can understand what they want to say and what they don't want to say, in addition to what they do say. But you know, you get used to this. And by gestures and just, so I mean, again, person to person is extremely helpful. But also one advantage of, or you know, not an advantage, but I have much more time to do research now, because I used to be on a plane all the time. And now, instead of being on a plane, I have more time to do research. So again, I try to find, since I'm a workaholic, I try to find a benefit. So whatever the situation is, I want to move ahead. I want to find out what's new. You know, is solvent ink still staying? Is UV rising? Obviously, Decor, I think there was a question of kind of what's new. I think Decor, especially now that people are staying at home, and as Iman and Mike and everyone and Nitin have pointed out, people are going to be at home more often no matter what, even when the offices are open, and they're going to want to decorate. Not me, in my office, I don't decorate my office, but you know, an intelligent person is going to decorate. So I think home decor has significant future potential moving ahead.
True.
One thing about, in fact, I have one of the attendees asking, there's a question coming up. In the new normal, Mike, or maybe you might be able to throw some light on this. Will, in textiles, you think the digital printing will become more than the analog production facilities?
Absolutely. I mean, if we look at the last ITMA show last year in Barcelona, We could see that there was a huge demand and a huge offering on digital textile printers already, moving digital textile production from analog to digital. One of the things that makes this happen is shorter runs, personalization, and even decoration, where people want to decorate their homes. I mean, this here in the back of me is a textile, and I can replace that frame. It's in my own home. I can replace it whenever I want to. If I'm fed up with this map and I'd like to have some flowers, I can do that. What is the cost for me as a consumer? 20, 30 euros for a piece of fabric that was printed. And I'll wait for it a couple of days. You know, I don't have a problem with that. That's just one example. So if we look at fashion, it's a little bit more tricky. If you look at garments, the trick becomes even bigger when it becomes volume productions for companies like Primark, H&S, Zara, Desigual. It is very difficult to do that in volume digital today because of cost and pricing. But anything that has a little bit more significance to the market is absolutely feasible to do that digital. If you look at all the top sports today, all their shirts are made digital. They're not even made analog anymore. It's the fan shirts are made analog, but all the player shirts are made digital. And we see a trend, a very strong trend in Europe, where Europe is bringing back digital textile, or bringing back textile and making it digital. If you look at Dubai, it's quite interesting to know that Dubai in the region, after oil, it is the second biggest industry, textiles. Textiles is the second biggest industry in Dubai. And a lot of people kind of forget, you know, people think about construction, people think about all kinds of other things, but it's not. Yes, oil is one, and then textiles, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So I think there is a big demand, and there is a big demand to produce faster. And the other reason is supply chain. Supply chains have become unreliable and not as fast as we used to have. If you used to order something at Alibaba, normally it would take you a week, 10 days, and you would get upset. 14 days, you would complain you want your money back. If you buy something today, I expect something to arrive November, December. You know, the world has changed, and it will stay like that for a very long time. Airplanes are full, not with passengers, with supplies and cargo. So just imagine this a year ago, that I would have told you that 90% of all the airlines in the world would basically stop flying Airbus 380s, stop flying Boeing 747s, and what they would have flying is cargo on seats. You would have basically put me in a nut house. So the world has changed. Textiles have changed, and textiles will change dramatically and fast. So for companies that are in textiles, this is your opportunity. You have a good opportunity.
Thank you, Mike. Putting that in the Middle East perspective, Ayman, do you have any comments on the evolution of textile digital printing here in the Middle East?
No, actually, because in Canon we are not handling this part of textile mostly. We are not specialized in this, but I want to put like, how we can navigate or mitigate about this situation now and go through this new normal, because I think what we want to do is, or what printers has to do, especially in the Middle East, if I want to put some shades from my experience in this, that they need to reassess their current business structure from my point of view. They need to think about how to improve their efficiency and effectiveness, and they have to understand their customer priorities, because this is a time, as I think Mike mentioned in the beginning, like waiting for a job to come and customer to call and to fulfill. I think part of the change that we are facing, or they will face, is they have to be more active, understanding the customer and his priority, because now the priority for all of us has changed completely. We are more cost conscious, we are more ROI focused, we have our long-term and short-term plans changed, and there was a lot of lessons that our printers actually has to learn that we already passed with. For example, for a couple of months, no one was able to reach his printing facility or his his work or office. So now this is the time how to think about automation, for example, and think about remote access and cloud services, and how to make part of the job remotely, not to be physically there. The world now is changing to e-commerce. So how we can play a role here? What is web to print can play, and what's online marketing to market the printing business online, and how to make a customer self-services online for our customer. So this is important as well for printers to think. The customer now, as I mentioned, cost conscious, focused. So how to think, how to help him in these priorities, how to make, for example, his shorter runs available, his personalization, customization, how to convince him, or how to stress that printed communication is a core communication channel, part of his communication mix with his customer, with good personalization, customization, finishing option, attractive, because this elite high quality printing still has big value to us. So these kind of things, I think it's very important. And I think one of the area that all printers has to think is inkjet production. Cut sheet inkjet is turned to be one of the growth area that for commercial printing I'm talking, that really can add a lot of value and can help in this change big time, especially when the jobs will be shorter runs and will inquire some personalization and customization. So in general, digital printing should be considered more from agility and flexibility. So this kind of area, I think everyone has to assess in his business and how to structure his strategy and process and knowledge and skills that his people has in order to be able to move forward in this new normal time.
Yeah, okay. In fact, no, talking about, yeah, please. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing, and I'm a bit concerned that people think that if you have automation and if you have workflow and you have web to press and you have all these great things, that your business will be saved. I have bad news. It's not going to happen. Yes, you need all these things, so let's not understand me wrong, but you need to be visible. You need to communicate with your customers. You need to be there. And this is the biggest problem in our industry. We have a fear of our customer. We don't want to talk to our customer. Yes. We don't want to walk inside and say, hi, how are you? How is your business? No, I'm not selling you anything today. I'm just here because we've had a relationship for 20 years and I want to know, how is it going? Can I help you with something? Listen to the customer, be there with the customer, be visible, make sure your website is up to date. I've seen website of printers that, I am sorry, but they're more 90s vintage. Well, maybe you want the retro look. Okay, that's fine. But the reality is you need to be visible. You need to be there. You need to talk. And then I agree totally with Ayman by saying you need all the stuff to make sure you can deliver that what is promised. And also deliver what you promise. Don't say yes if you know you're not going to make it or not able to make it, because that customer will not come back. And he goes www.google.com and says, where can I print cheap? Because we have been extremely intelligent, and I'm taking that sarcastically, by telling everybody that we have great prints. We all print fantastic. We all have the best color management. We all have the best print, the best paper, the best everything. So the customer says, okay, so everybody's the same. What's the price? So get talking to the customer. Be there, be in his front door, step inside, help him, and you will make a business. And that will be the turnaround of this new normal, in my opinion.
Yeah, in fact, if I have to rephrase this, you see this as a transformation in the workflow, so between within the companies and their interaction with their customers, or is there something new they will be doing, or is it something which they should be doing and we would like them to focus on it more?
I mean, yes, it will be new. If you have a workflow, let's say I buy workflow X, Y, Z. I make everything work. I needed this extra printer, and I wasn't doing any labels. Let's do the label printer also. Now I have everything I can do. How does the customer know how to do it? How does the customer know where to send the label, and how does that work? And does he know which substrate he needs to use? And is it migratory inks, or was it food packaging, or was it not? And he needs your advice. He needs your consultancy. And I think that the difference of selling in the print industry is going to be consultative selling.
Selling, okay. I get it.
Has to be.
In fact, talking about the new normal and the new way of working, I mean, one side is our interaction with the customers and the way we get the business, the sign makers get their business. If you look at the other side of the spectrum, manufacturers of printers and the print service providers, and with the new demand, levels of demand that will be defined by the new normal, do you foresee a consolidation of in terms of manufacturing of printers, or consolidation as far as services that are being provided? Do you see some kind of a scenario like that coming up?
I think Dr. Nicholas has a better view on that, because he talks to most people.
Doctor?
Well, didn't Xerox try to gobble up Hewlett Packard? And I think Hewlett Packard intelligently decided they wanted to stay themselves. With respect to, shall we say, joining with each other, what I like about a company, let's just take EFI for example, they have acquired every type of software you could possibly need. And I think more, and of course they have their own RIP, the fiery RIP. I think this is extremely important, that yes, you can have, some software and they can make it slightly for you, but to have everything in-house, to have your own facilities and you're able to do your own as much as possible, to me produces a better printer. I would prefer to go with a company that has things in-house, and I also prefer to go with a company that's really focused on one thing. So I mean, AT Inks is focused on ink. Canon is focused on the things that they're very good at, focused at. And this focus is extremely important. When you try to splitter splatter and do too much, you can kind of get out of your area of expertise. So again, to move ahead, I would like, yes, people are going to buy each other up, but I said EFI to me is one of the best examples. Epson, of course, has its, the textile companies, Fortex and Robustelli, and Mamaki, of course, earlier made their alliances. So these alliances are extremely important. And EFI, of course, got the textile printer company in Italy. This is very, very important.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. In fact, if we have to look forward, in the days to come, we all are in agreement about the new normal and about the changes that may happen in the demand and the business environment. Now, if we have to look forward as a sign maker, what are the growth areas I should be looking at? Where do you think I will be able to make money, or where do you think as a sign maker I should focus my attention on? What type of technology should I embrace? Pablo, will you be able to give us some insights here?
Well, I think that the signage market has always been a big player. There will be always need to send a message to promote right now in the new normal. But what is normal now? You have to inform how is the new normal, the reopening of the business to promote your old and new products. So companies will always need POPs, flags, banners, anything to stand out. So for me, the signage business will be my suggestion. Signage will be great now.
Okay. Is there any specifics like short runs, UV printing, stickers, decals, personalization? What do you think are these sectors? Will be the sectors one should concentrate on as a sign maker for increasing their bottom line? Anyone, Mike?
Yeah, it will increase their bottom line.
Okay.
And I think that one of the things that was also asked in one of the questions from the live questions is, can we move to new or different applications to make money again? And my answer is no. We are not here with the wisdom, at least I'm speaking for myself, but I think most of us will agree, we don't have a box of, new applications for you to make money. Just let me see what we have today. Today we have this, and you're going to make money with this. If that was the case, I would not be in this webinar. You would be probably seeing me in a nice air-conditioned room. At the same time, I would be at the beach with some incredibly nice motorboat in front of me. It's not going to happen. What will happen is listening to your customer. What is an application? And and this is a direct reply to that question. What is an application? An application is something the customer wants, nothing more. Don't come up with crazy ideas. In these times, listen to your customer and demand your customer to explain what he wants, and you can produce it. And once you produce it, you can ask a price. And talking about price, one of the questions also online was, how about pricing? Should I reduce my pricing? No. Why should you? Are you still delivering the same product? Are you still delivering the same quality? Are you still putting your heart and soul in your product? Then keep the same price. Don't lower your prices just because there is a COVID pandemic. Last year, there was a heat wave. Are you going to lower your prices for that too? And when the snow hits Dubai, are you going to lower your prices again? No, it's a spiral going down. Don't lower your prices. Up your service. Up
Value.
your service. Make value. Absolutely, Eman. And this is where the difference is. If you want to lower your prices, I can guarantee you by 1 or 2 years from now, you will be bankrupt. I'm sorry to say, it's hard, it's not friendly, it's not nice, it's very Dutch, very direct. You will be bankrupt.
Well, that's true, because if you can lower your price by a penny, somebody else can lower his price by 2. I mean, this is a downward spiral. Pricing, of course. And Karthik, to go back to the question you asked earlier, what should I do? Decals or banners or signs? Well, do what you know how to do. This is not the time to try out new tricks. This is the time to focus on new technology, to learn, to position yourself for tomorrow. But today you have to survive. And survival today means doing what you do best, doing what you know how to do best. And like Mike said, doing what your customer wants. I mean, if someone comes up to us and says, can you do this, that, or the other? If we don't know how to do it, now is the time to say, no, we can't. I would love to help you, but I can't do it. But if you want this, I can. And I can do this very well, and I can do it at a reasonable price. So focus on whatever your strength is. I mean, whoever is watching this, if your strength is banners, or your strength is point of sale, or your strength is stickers, just do it. I mean, you'll be making different stickers now. You may be making stickers that say, stay 6 feet apart, or you may be making a sticker that says, wear a mask. It doesn't matter what you're making. What you know, do it well, stay, survive, because things are going to get better. And learn. Be ready, be positioned so that when the time changes, and it will change, like I said earlier, this growth is coming. There is pent-up demand. And as it changes, be first in line to take advantage of the new technology, of everything you've learned. Or, like Dr. Helmut said, he's spending this time to do more research. That's what you need to do in your industry, in your area. What is the new equipment that I can buy? What is the new service I can provide? Can I get into decorative stuff? Can I get into textiles? How can I improve my offerings? But don't do it now. Just wait for it.
Thank you. In fact, taking this into a Middle East perspective, can I call Ayman, coming back to the normal, or coming back to the close to normal. In your opinion, what do you think is a time frame you're looking at, or time frame the market is looking at, if one has to bounce back, if I have to use the word bounce back?
Actually, I think all of us, I think the whole world was after answering this question, not only for printing industry, I think for economy, for different kind of industries. But I think from my studies and discussions, that it's all revolving around 2022 in general. So if you talk about governments, or some governments, for example, at least in Middle East, talking about 2022, even companies as well, I'm expecting printing, and especially digital printing area, because I'm witnessing, or I'm following, because it's my job, will be recovered faster than this. Because as I mentioned, COVID might will bring some opportunities in digital because of agility, short runs, a smaller investment. It can add more services to the printer and can bring more value to the printer customer as well. So I'm expecting 2021 to have this back to the business size or level of 2019. I hope that even the acceleration of recovery will get faster and faster. And I see the recovery since July, June, July, it's getting accelerated a bit compared to April, May. But I'm expecting Q4, like from October till end of the year, hopefully, without any unexpected surprises, will be even accelerating more towards recovery. And in this sense, I think by 2021, we will be in a good shape, at least in the Middle East I'm talking about, because as I mentioned in the beginning, in Middle East, because our market is not matured like US or Western Europe and so, the impact was not as heavy as there, and the recovery will be as faster as there as well. So I think I'm very positive about it, to be honest.
Is there something you can add about the African market, because you have insight into those markets too?
I think African markets, like if I'll talk about North Africa, for example, especially Egypt and so, it's I'm just following up because I'm Egyptian as well, that I think because Africa didn't take a lot of restrictive measures for COVID. So they were balancing more than any other regions between economy and COVID. So that's why during this pandemic and lockdown time, they were still making some transactions. So I think, however, still some African countries now started to be more strict, but I think again, because of immaturity of the market and the industry and so on, I think it will be recovering faster as well. And I'm expecting the same like Middle East. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. In fact, I would like to go back to Nitin, because Nitin being the one in the the ink industry, which is the blood of, if you have to call it, it's the blood of the industry. So in this new change which has been happening because of the pandemic, because you have a wide gamut of products which you offer to the market, have you seen any change in patterns of ink consumption, or change in patterns by types of things, like by reactive, UV?
I think I believe that UV, again, the last 2-3 months are really not indicative of what is happening. But if we take a look at the overall trends, both UV and textile areas, we see a lot more growth now, and we see a lot more growth potential going forward. So UV, whether it be in decorative, that's an area where we have definitely seen growth. Textiles overall, like Mike had mentioned earlier, he sees more potential in textiles and so on. I think that potential was already there pre-COVID. So COVID may accelerate this a little bit as people get rid of older technologies and focus on newer stuff. Shorter runs become more common than the typical long run. And because speeds are going up, so that's definitely happening. The transition was already there. It has just gone up a little bit. And in the UV area, for sure. We've been hearing about the death of solvent for the last 10 years. It's not dead, it's not dying, and it won't die. I mean, solvent brings so much to the table, and the value proposition that it has, because of the output you get at much lower cost, is going to be there. So in the Americas, for example, the US might be moving away from solvent, but the rest of the Americas is not. And I see that trend worldwide. So yes, solvent will stabilize, but UV and textiles definitely will see growth.
Thank you. In fact, talking about the growth area, as COVID has actually brought in a new surge in the labeling and packaging, as Ayman was mentioning and as the doctor was also mentioning. Maybe I will address this to the doctor. Do you think the labeling and packaging, this growth is a sustained growth, or is it going to be just a blip? It just goes up and then it will settle down? What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, for example, if I'm going to order something online and have it delivered I don't need packaging to entice me so much because I'm not walking down the aisle of the store. Now, for example, as soon as this meeting's over, I'm going to go to an organic food store and buy food, and the labels do catch my eye. So labeling will continue to grow, and of course, maybe the labels on the ad on the internet. But labeling is important. I've gone to the Label Expo in Belgium, I think every couple, not recently, but in past years. And also I noticed that the Dubai show, the Sign Middle East show, began to add labeling, and that's important because labeling is part of everything that we do, and it's important. To have just wide format printers, to me, is not a good idea for a show. You want to have the desktop printers, you want to have the flatbed printers, you want to have the roll-to-roll printers, and like the nice Canon booth, you want to have the toner printers and the short-run digital presses. That's all absolutely essential in your business, and I think it should be essential for an expo. And so it does help to have that labeling and packaging are important. But again, when a package arrives, I just tear it open and throw it away. But when I'm walking in a store, I do want to see something nice.
Yeah, let me go to Mike. Mike has got disconnected, I guess. He should be joining us back soon. Coming back to Ayman, because you have equipments which are in that realm of labeling and packaging. What is your take on that? Is this a surge a temporary surge, or is it something which is a sustainable surge?
I think from my point, as just highlighted quickly, that with this change or this new normal or whatever new situation that we are facing is there was good shift because this packaging and labeling, people went during the COVID during sort of panic mode. So in personal level, we started to stock more than we need. So that's why the demand on goods relatively was higher during these 3 months, like from March till end of May or so. So that's why this put a surplus in labeling and packaging, and that has to fulfill, and even the factories and warehouses has to refill again. So that's put a lot of pressure on the industry overall, like food industry and whatever, hygiene and so on, and the packaging and labeling as well. So my expectation, so that spike affected that, but my expectation that as I mentioned, the shift to the e-commerce will be always there, and this is new change in the e-commerce. But from my point of view, still the in-store in the retail industry experience is there. I'm still buying online, but I'm still going to the shop to watch out and to see and to find the promotions and shop. So we have this mix. I'm delivering or ordering food online. I'm still going to the restaurant. So this new normal brought both. So you will not find now in Dubai, for example, you will go to the shopping mall, you will find life is normal. Going to the restaurant, shop from the hypermarket and so on. This is normal. Still, we are doing both. So that's why I think overall it should bring positive impact, because both will be okay from my point of view. So I think we might not have this spike because of panic mode, but it will be impacted positively because of this positive trend in both.
Thank you. Maybe if I have to get an European angle to this, Mike, will you be able to add something to this? The surge in the labeling and the packaging markets because of the situation that pandemic has brought in to the world. Do you think is it something it's just a spike, or do you think it will stay on, or it will redefine the way we do business, and labeling will still keep continuing to grow?
I think the spike will be there and will continue for a couple of reasons. First of all, there is a lot of changes in the EU about packaging labeling at this moment. So that kind of skews a little bit the uprising of the quantities of labels. But we are packaging more. We are sending more through e-commerce. The result is it needs to be labeled. It needs to be packaged. It needs to be fulfilled. And this is a demand of labels, where normally you would go to a store and it will be a big box with 20 pieces. They would hang them on hangers in the coat, you know, and that's it. And now every single one of these dresses needs to be packed, labeled, then the box needs to be labeled. And, you know, so this, instead of having one label, it now 3 or 4 labels. So I think that's one of the things that e-commerce is basically driving packaging and labeling. And the differences. Another thing that's driving labeling is that if you are in a difficult time selling, you want to differentiate your product. Coca-Cola did this a couple of years ago by, you know, putting cans out with names and bottles out there with names. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of brands that did this. But take this a little bit bigger and differentiate by country. 27 countries in Europe, 27 different types of labels, 27 different languages. You know, even in the Emirates, people in Abu Dhabi and in Sharjah or Dubai are very different. They have different philosophies. They want to have a different product. They want to have a different vision. And I'm not even talking about all the tourists going to Fallujah. And that's only one country. So you have a country with a big desert, but still there's a lot of differences in what people want to see. So I think there is a spike in Europe, but I think the spike is a trend of e-commerce, and it will drive a lot more. So yes, there is a big business ahead for packaging and labeling, but that does not mean that the sign people that are looking at us at this moment are going to go, oh my God, what happened to my business? No, your business is there. You're going to have to print big signs where they're going to store those packages before they get shipped. You're going to have to produce massive vinyls for the sides of those trucks transporting those packages. So there is a business opportunity for there. Just try to look for it.
I think signage had a good volume, came from the distancing related applications as well, like floor signage and all
yeah,
these
but
stuff.
that's short term. That's short term.
I think it compensated probably part of the exhibition area, because those people who used to work only for exhibition, they were idle for the last 4 or 5 months. Because so probably this helped a bit.
Because I'm not sure how it is in Dubai, but I know in Europe, in the Netherlands at least, I know that in supermarkets, a lot of the floor graphics have already disappeared. You know, they got tormented by people when it wasn't really a good floor graphic, and the result is it is better to take them off. But I think a lot of those things are disappearing already because people know what it is to have a meter and a half or 6 feet difference. So I think there's difference. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we still have the graphics, but you know, once you put down a graphic, that's it. Once you put the sign that says stay 6 feet apart, that sign is going to be there for a long time. So even though the sign may have to be renewed after a few months, it's very, like Mike said, this was just something that happened.
Temporarily.
Short spike. It helped people. You know, it was like when they started with the smoking bans over here several years ago. You know, every place had to put up a no smoking sign. But I think those signs are still there. Nobody's put up a new no smoking sign in a long time. So it's probably the same with these signs as well.
We should make a law, guys. We should make a law that you have to replace your signage for smoking bans, alcohol, and all those other things every 3 months.
I agree.
It would be good for the industry.
Agree.
Now, moving away from printing, signage is not just only printing. There are other areas in the signage area, in the signage segment. Like Pablo, will you be able to give us some insight on, because I know you do some reports on subtrats and CNC machines and things like that. Have those type of signage production, signage segments been affected by the pandemic, and is there any change in those segments?
Well, I don't think so. As you say, the finishing equipment will be a great acquisition because everybody needs to laminate or coat the material. So it will last longer. As Mike said, we need to change it every 3 months. Or 3 weeks, it will be misery. But they have new niche. They do the stickers to the floor. They do the signs of use your face mask. They haven't stopped doing business. The small decor things, I think they will be growing because everybody needs something like that.
Thank you. In fact, I have a general question for the panel. Talking about printing technologies, do you see anything new coming up in the industry, any by way of technology? Any innovative technology trends or anything coming up in the near future? It's a general question. So anyone who's got, yeah.
If we had Drupa this year, we would have seen those, but I think that's been postponed to April of next year.
So we wait till April to see.
I think print heads are something to keep an eye on because you know, a few of the print head brands like Panasonic, you know, didn't do very well. Toshiba Tech, I remember about 5 years ago, they said they were going to stop doing it, and then they kept on. But Toshiba Tech just dropped its laptop division, you know, so they're pretty much not there anymore compared with some of the other brands. So I think that technology, you know, the print head brands and technology are what's going to fuel advances in ability, and also, of course, you know, better inks, because each printhead needs a certain type of ink. You know, I'm always a little bit nervous when I see a printer advertised and they say you can put whatever printhead you want in there, you can put whatever ink you want in there. I prefer a printer with one printhead, everything made for that printhead and everything made for that type of ink, so the thing works well together. But to me, printheads, you know, I'd be careful of the brands that are going downhill or stagnant, and I would look at the multiple brands that are moving ahead.
Thank you, Doctor. In
I
fact,
think,
you know,
to add to this from our side as well,
Yeah.
like as I mentioned, like we feel like inkjet production, inkjet, either cut sheet or continuous feed, might have some opportunities after this situation. So that's why in Middle East we will have big focus in order to educate the industry and educate the market, because still this kind of area is not like Europe or US, is not yet developed. So we will take a plan how to develop this area and how to educate our customer in order to understand by himself how he can profile himself if he can benefit from inkjet as a production inkjet, which kind of technology is it, cut sheet or continuous feed, and so, and then he can think and if this investment can help him to bring more business or to not to lose existing business and so.
Thank you very much.
If I can say something on that also,
Yeah,
I think one of the things, and I agree with Pablo, I think finishing equipment is tremendously important. You know, outside of the printhead, the inks, and the manufacturing, I think you need to finish it. You need to make sure that it's cut, that it's in a box, et cetera, et cetera. So finishing in a very broad sense of the way, and really depending on each business. Somebody in the sign graphics industry, I would definitely recommend to get a flatbed cutter, where you can do routing and cutting and making sure you can finish your products faster, more accurate, and better. You know, cutting by hand circles on a sticker, you know, that size is not easy. It's a lot easier when you have a you know, a Zund or a Suma or something doing it for you. So that's a big difference. When it comes to technology and what kind of technologies are something we need to look at, and I haven't seen anything, so let me be very careful. I'm not talking any non-disclosures here, but I haven't seen anything that comes into edible inks again, non-migratory inks. You know, if you look at, we're producing all kinds of inks for textiles, we're producing inks for labels, we're producing inks for cardboard, we're doing a lot of things. But one of the things that we're not looking at lately is really to take over from that analog business, which is the food industry. Food industry is 90% analog because of the inks and because of the technology. It is moving. I mean, there is some things happening, but it's slow. And one of the things I would like to say to Nicholas, and I agree with Nicholas on the head side, but it really depends on where you are. If you are in the Netherlands, yeah, I can make a choice on head technology and maybe some ink technology in the US. You know, Nitin can do the same. I think when you look at countries and regions like the Middle East and Africa, I've been quite involved in those regions. I think what is more important there is what kind of service are you getting? You know, who is going to repair it? I don't care what head it is. I want to know who is going to repair it when it's broken. And I think those are things that are probably more important than what type of technology head I'm going to be buying. Does it work with Nitin's inks? Is it going to give me the results? Nitin inks work with my heads, with my printer. I'm a happy guy. And this is where I think we need to focus on, and not the technology only. I think Western Europe and the US, you can focus a little bit more on technology. When you are in the region and you're in let's take another country, Kenya, you want to make sure that it's repairable in Kenya.
That's a good point. On edible inks, Sensient makes makes edible inks, and actually I think their office is here in St. Louis, which is the same city where I live.
Oh, Sentient is Sun Chemical now, so that's gone.
Exactly, you're right.
But getting to your point about edible inks, there are things I can't disclose, but basically the problem out there.
Did I touch on something sensitive, guys? Sorry.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. However, the volumes at this point do not justify the investment to overcome the regulatory challenges. So the challenge is not so much technological or chemical. The challenge is more the regulations. You know, the patchwork of laws from different country, every FDA or its equivalent in different country having their own requirements, and people, ink manufacturers like us or others would be more than willing to do all that if the return was there, or if there was even a semblance of a return. So at this point, the volumes don't justify it, but eventually if the volumes show up, I imagine that this is not going to be a very hard move.
Thank you.
Think that 3D printers are the ones that has gone more into the food industry. There is a company in Australia, I think so, that produces materials that looks like salmon. Also do sushi stuff. So 3D is more going into food industry.
We will one day eat sushis out of 3D printers very soon, I guess.
I'm glad I'm in Western Europe. I'm going to get some real Norwegian salmon.
Yeah,
I don't want my sandwich 3D printed, guys. I'm sorry. I'm old-fashioned.
Thank you very much. I think discussing about the subject we all love. We have kind of lost track of time. We have already crossed about an hour and 15 minutes. And in fact, we have actually when we had asked people to register, to put out their questions. And there was one question which was the most, in fact, I would say a majority. And that question was, when do you think our industry can go back to the pre-COVID levels? And I think we'll all agree in saying that as soon as possible, if we stay positive and if we keep moving forward. I think the lessons what we have had today is that one, adapt yourself, be agile, be cognizant of what your customer needs, be close to your customer, and move your business forward every day in everything you do. And soon we will have these pre-COVID days, or maybe some time which is better than this. In fact, thank you very much. I would like to thank each one of the panel members for taking the time out and coming and speaking to us. Like I said, it is just a beginning. This is just the first of the sessions what we are having, where we will be meeting and discussing various topics. This was a very generic discussion we had. We will slowly move into very specifics, where we will invite maybe some of them from the same panel to come back to give us a very specific information on specific industries, and we will learn. The idea is for us to make a beginning, because anything great has to start, and once you start, great things will happen automatically. So we thank each and every one of the panel members and each and every one of the attendees. Here it is, in people who are in Dubai, it's like time for them to leave. It's like after 5. So people who have stayed back are people who have really committed themselves to wanting to know more about the industry. And some, I guess, must be in the traffic. And if they are listening to us, drive safely when you're listening to us. And all I can say is that there's a journey we have begun. And the first step we have taken in this journey of learning together and being together and growing together. And as we move along, we will smell roses, we will see the rainbow, and we will all grow and prosper together. thank you very much again. And thanks a lot to each one of you for being here. And I would say God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.